quickly to my background. I come from dance. I'm a dancer and a dance movement therapist. But I ended up by being in production, in residency spaces, in European policy stuff. So it's a kind of a long way in the dance from really practicing it to EU policy making. I worked a long time in Portugal in a residency space which is called O Espaço do Tempo. It's called Space of Time. It is an old monastery that had 6 studios and was connected to a theater and a black box theater. So it was a big production house for dance and theater for artists from all over the world. We had around 70 residencies every year. And yeah, it was kind of a dream place on top of a hill in the mountains of Portugal. You know, you can imagine that it was a nice place to work. And but now it's going to be restored because 3 years ago one part of it fell. There was a little earthquake, and then part of it fell. So we had to move out and change our organization, and I'm not anymore in this organization now. I was recently managing the European Dance House Network. It's a network of European production and dance spaces. Now it's, I think, there are 49 spaces in Europe that collaborate and work together. Recently, I was in the program team of the Helsinki new dance house being built now. To set up the programming ideas and to make a special program. It's called Sparks program. And now I'm in the curating team of the Tanzminds Congress. So you can see that from dancer to my age, what you can do if you keep kind of going with the flow. So today I turned myself to the residency specialist because I was working 20 years in this field, and I wanted to ask you, who of you already experienced residencies or had made a residency already, and how it was for you? Can you, someone please, yeah, let me know. How was it?
I've been to a couple of residencies.
Mm-hmm.
One in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Which was very nice, but it was a very beautiful place, but it was very unorganized in the sense that it was more like a house of a... Like it was very authoritarian in a way, so it was not so much structure, but rather like if the person who is main person in this residency likes you, then you have like, you can stay there longer. It's like, it was too much personal, so I didn't like it in that sense. And
you are from where are you?
I'm from Russia.
From Russia.
Yeah, actually, I think in dance, not. I was in also a couple of places as a visual artist, but there were no dance, so it's quite.
There was no facilities for dancing.
There were no facilities for performance.
Okay. Right. Anybody else? Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Okay. So my subject to think about today is why artist residencies are actually needed, and then the other subject is where can I find, where do I look for, and then the other subject is how do I choose, what are the criteria also for me to choose this or another one, and when then I apply, and then the whole rethinking time because of mobility question also. Okay, let's still take some time to rethink our mobility also in terms of residencies, how we can do this in a ecological way. Then in the next slide, I'm going to give you all the links I find and I have where you can then go further into the subject and look at where you can find residencies. I can quickly show you, there's a lot of information online about international residency program, also for dance. So then the link I will give it to Stephanie, and then you can have them. Yeah. Okay. Why artistic residencies? So I mean, this is usually it's a time to dive in. Yeah. To take time to disconnect from daily life and to go really strongly with a team that normally needs to commute, to come to one studio. You know, you are in the middle of a big town, everybody comes stressed already. So to take away all this burden and work in a nice environment, inspiring environment. There was a practice of care when it's well done. And you really, the artist is there in the forefront, you know, and usually it's really to have an optimum on working time, yeah. So of course there are different kind of timings. There are short-term residencies that are between 2 and 3 weeks, but then there are also long-term residencies that can be up to 6-8 months, yeah, like you have it in Kampnagel, Hamburg. They're doing these bigger residencies. But this is a big selection process. You can apply, and then a jury selects from 80 applications, or sometimes 140. No, because I was 2 times in this selection jury. And from that we wind it down to 6. So there's really big knowledge also to know how to apply and what is to write an application for a residency space. Yeah. Then there are residency spaces that give you different kind of conditions. So there are some that give you really, you can have the heaven conditions, which you also receive a salary. For example, Bora Bora recently in Denmark, they are selecting also the residencies on this level, but they are having really very strict a policy of paying monthly all the participants of the residency, you know, from light designer to everybody gets the same. A very democratic process. This is a dream residency, I would say, and they really take good care. And there are other residencies that they have different kind of artists coming from different kind of performing arts field, not only dancers, also theater, music, poetry, literature. And there you can also, this is also, but then dance is also included, yeah. So these are the range. Some, of course, they have this, that you have a funding for a paid residency, and like we had it in our space, it was Portugal. We didn't have paid residencies, but we worked together with the Ministry of Culture, and so they apply for residency, and when they had the residency, they could then apply for the project money, and the fact that they had a residency, they got easier access to project money. And this is many times also like that. That you sometimes, you do the connection to a residency before, and then you can say, okay, I would have this residency, and that helps me then to find a better funding for my project. All this I'm talking in the free scene, because I'm moving in the free scene. So, of course, and these are the artists that are needing more residencies because they don't have the facility of a space, of these spaces. So that is why artistic residencies. Yeah. So I mean, basically the focus and the main subject is this time, this of fruitful being together in a good place with good conditions for different kind of stages of your residency. Because you can have a first residency is your research residency, where you just do desk work, you discuss your work. You come together with all your collaborators. You can take the time to think about. It's the first research residency. Then you have a pre-production, for example. You start to try out things. And then it's important that these residencies have, like, maybe you can tell me your name, then I can say your name. Anastasia said there was not the conditions that she was expecting. So that you make sure that there is really facilities for your tryouts, you know. And there should be a helpful team with technicians that should help you to make really your tryout. So before you come to the residency, usually they're sending you out sheets where you have to fill out exactly what you want to do. So, and even technically, So of course, then during the development process, it can change, but still the team, the technical team knows, okay, they come and they need this and this and this. Yeah? So we prepare. Yeah? And as it was in our space, we also could do then really end production residencies, which are of course the more challenging one for the residency provider field, because sometimes you have groups with 30 dancers coming and they occupy the whole the whole space, and you need a bigger theater space that is available. And it was in this little town we had the luck to have a bigger theater, so we could use it as a rehearsal theater space, yeah, because it was not really used so much by the town, which is of course it was a fantastic condition to do residencies in end production, you know. So you come sometimes, mostly the Portuguese artists, but also artists from other countries came like 3 times into residency. Yeah, they came for research residency, then they came for the pre-production residency where they try out all materials and still part trying out, part discussing, and then they come still to the end production residency. So they had already planned the three phases. Yeah, and this is of course ideal when you can do it in the same place, because you already know how it works. You are familiar with the functioning of the place, and the spaces. Yeah, because it is sensitive to be in this phase of creation. You are in a vulnerable state. You are confronted with a lot of questions and a little bit nervous, because you know you have to provide. You have to bring everybody together as if you are the choreographer, and make this happen. Yeah, and of course, then it's nice if you have around you a team of people that help you to push this forward and don't put your obstacles into it. Yeah, so that they're, in our case, it was like this. We prepare residency every time when the artist came. First, it was a contact. We watched together with the technical team the work they did. Video, we show up the videos. Okay, this artist works like that. And all the team knew, from the production people, from the sound people, from the technical people, know this person already from ahead. Yeah, they know their work and how they you know, more or less how is their artistic language. Yeah, so we could be sensitive, and then we discuss in the team how we're going to organize it, and then it starts. Yeah, so when they come, usually they had already a feeling that, oh, someone thought about us already before, which is a really nice feeling. Yeah, so this is not always like that. You know, it's really, it can be done in a very personal way, which I think it's desirable to have it in that way. Or you can make it, you know, like bigger residency places that have artists from all different areas. It's not so personal. It can be, of course, very cared, but not from the point of view of artistically. I think there are quite differences how you can do it. Yeah, and I think it's important to get information about this, and of course, as I said before, and to know exactly how to apply to something like that. Yeah. For example, when you read. It was interesting to read applications for residency places, not only for the one I worked, also for Kampnagel I was, or for Bora Bora or other partners I was in the jury. It's where it's kind of heads very easily to the artists that have a good application, you know, that because we are like 4 or 5 people in a jury for residencies, and somehow those that are very clear and in a good in a language that we really understand. Okay, that is what this person wants to do, and that is the vision. In which direction my work wants to go. Usually, they make it to the end. Yeah, because it's very clear. It doesn't have to be philosophical, very complicated, or you know, it's just that we can feel what that person wants to do. Yeah, from from the beginning to a certain stage of the residency. Yeah.
I wanted to ask if you had also in this residency in Portugal or in other where you participated, very often I just meet in the application the need or the ask, the request from the residency to also do something with the like local communities or to work with the topics which are like in this local place. Like, did you also have this or?
No, it is like if the project needs a connection to the local community, yeah, then of course we have to provide that connection, because sometimes there are artists that do pieces that include the community from their idea, but not that we ask them to do something for us. That was not the case. Yeah, I remember that once we had a time where we asked theater actors to go to school and read their preferred texts. I think that was once in all this time from their 3-4 weeks of residencies. Go once to school and read a text, make a bit of an inscenated text. How you say inscenated text? I don't know if I say right. That was the only thing where we really ask for doing a community work, but not really. But it can happen, yes. Good. So why artistic residencies? So that were a little bit my starting point. If you would like to ask me something here on this moment.
Yeah, like I didn't understand one part. Like there are different kinds of residencies.
Mm-hmm.
Like the research, and then you don't have to show anything yet, or
No. If you're in the research, you can share your ideas if you want, but usually you are free to say, yes, I would like to share my ideas, or in this stage I don't want to share my ideas yet. But of course, depends on the places. Some of them really in the end ask you if they want that you show something in the end. Yeah, it's nice to show something in the end. I have to say, because this is a very caring public that you have. You know, when you're showing something to people that are used to work with artists that are in a work in progress. Yeah, and that this is a good moment to try out your work, because it's exactly what it is. You know, it's just that what you worked in the moment, and everybody can still give a little bit of a feedback, but it's not so violent. Then you go for already in a bigger public. So it's also, I think it's good to show work in this moment. Yeah.
So you said it has to be very clear in the application.
Yeah.
But if it's a research residency, let's say the research topic is still very open, do you think it's realistic to apply for residency? Or is it better to already have like a certain direction, certain topic that you want to explore?
Now, yeah, I mean, if you say, you know, I want to go to research residency, but I don't know not what I'm doing, I think it will not be accepted. I mean, you should have to have some your ideas that you are starting from. Yeah, it can be different. Doesn't have to be only one direction, maybe, but you have to just be honest and say, okay, I'm not sure, maybe, but I'm thinking of going in this or this or this direction. But be clear in this. Yeah, and I think that's to the subject of being clear. Yeah. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. Huh? I'm not. I don't speak for all the other residencies, but I think still, from my experiences, I feel like to be honest and clear is always a very good start. Yeah, with a clear language, and then not trying to sell something that you don't really feel it. Yeah. Yo, why artistic residencies? Some more questions here. Do you think I answered this? Why artistic residencies? More or less? Should I say something more? No? Because I want to also look. So, where to find? Yeah, that's the question. Whoops. No, in the end, as I told you, I have a lot. I give you, and then I send it to Stephanie. I already did this last year. I had some more, and there's lots of websites you can find. Artistic residencies, and I can open maybe one if they have internet. No, I don't have. So from all this here, there's one. You have here the Creative Europe. Ipotunus, then you have Trans Artists Organization, but you will get it. Then they have On the Move Organization, which is for mobility and also has a very wide offer of contacts to residence spaces. Then there is the Arts in Residencies from France, also Arts in Residencies from France, yeah. And then there is Res Artists Organization, also very wide network of residencies they are collaborating with. And there is the Réseau, I don't have it here, I realize now. I forgot one, Réseau, I have to write it after, is a network for residencies only. Yeah, so they're having like, I think more or less 60 residencies where they collaborate, and you can, through the Réseau network, you can get information about different kind of facilities. And then there is the European Dance House Network. Also, you should check on the website of the European Dance House Network, EU, because there's all the dance houses, and most of them, or many at least, are also offering residencies. Long-term residencies, like I told you, like Kampnagel with this strict selection process that from lots of applications they only select 6, I think. And then also, and then others that are in the network that are usually providing residencies. And there is, I think, usually very good quality of residencies, specific for dance. Yeah. So here's, I don't want to open all the links and this and that because I think it would lead us. I can open maybe one that you can see. The Trans Artists, does it open? I think I'm not, am I? Yeah, here. Residencies, you see general information. Can you see that? Yeah? So here you have a general information, then you have a checklist, what you need, what funding they have, they provide. As I said, some you're directly paid by the residency space that have funding. Others, they have related organizations they are working with, and through that related organizations you can also apply.
On this website, there are also so many residencies where you have to pay by yourself.
Yeah.
It's a bit tricky, like to find not these ones and like not the more commercial ones, which are actually made by like for, I don't know, getting money from this, which could really support your productions. Yeah, I mean, in these websites where there are lots of them, it's very difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
Do you have maybe any tips for this?
No, I mean, I think you really have to check. I mean, I don't want to say this is good, this is not good. I'm not in the position to say this. Yeah, I don't want, but I mean, the websites I provided, I think they already are leading in that direction, let's say like that. Yeah. Okay, so that is one, and then, but then one really has to make a bit of a research here, when you know where you want to go. And now, of course, in the new, as you see, affecting change through artists in residencies. This is a big statement, affecting change through artists in residencies. What does this mean? I mean, this is a big invitation in the air. Affecting change through artists in residency. What are we doing when we go in residencies to make changes in society, in this place, in ourselves? Where are the changes? Yeah. interesting. I mean, this is a big plädoyer actually for the art form that you're choosing to move in. Yeah, you are on the core of the transformation with the movement, I think. Yeah, and dance has this power to be really go into the core of the subjects. Yeah, and quite easily, directly into it. Yeah, and this is a big tool that we all have here in our hands, and I think if we are aware of it more and more, what big tool we have, and hope we can bring it more, these choreographic tools, the tools of a dancer, the tools of a person in movement, a person that is used to change, to transform, to be flexible, to be, these maybe are these the tools for the future that we need in politics and thinking, that from the body we go into the mind. And there we have, and that's why I think sometimes these kind of phrases, they are kind of very strong, affecting change to artists in residencies. But you know, there's some thinking behind, and it's true. I think if you are an artist that goes in residency, you have an impact on this place you go. What proposals you bring, your ideas you are sending out into this place. And so it's not only that you go into a little cocoon and you are doing your research and nobody can see. No, you have, by being there, and by being there present with your energy, you're having an impact on the structure of the residency, on the people that are working there, on the people that are connected to this place, and then and further. It kind of spreads. Yeah? And of course, then that's why it's nice. When you asked me, do we have to show in the end? No, it's nice to show because then you can put this impact a little bit out into these places, a bit more, even if it's fragile, then it's fragility, which we need to see many times, I think, because not everything is powerful and strong. It's good to explore fragility and to show it, I think, you know. So, and in these moments, it's a fragile moment when you have your work in progress. So all this is around residencies. It's not just a house and a place and where you can do your work. It's also much more than that. Yeah? If it allows it to blossom. Yeah? Good. I make a stop here, and then you can still ask me now what's on your mind. Free flow of ideas here. What's in your mind? No, I don't think so that they're specific for that. But if you apply, you can say that. You can say, look, I'm just out from school and I'm in this, in my career, I want to, you know, just be honest and say what you want to. But of course, you have to have an idea why you go to the residency. You know, you cannot say, I'm a student, I want to go residency. To say, I want to go residency, and in that time, I would like to explore. Yeah, normally it depends also. There are residencies you go really like in solitude. Actually, there is a residency place called Solitude, Schloss Solitude. I think there's really only one person goes there, like writers and no, it's not true. but many times I know some composers, music composers and writers that go to Schloss Solitude alone for quite a long time. Yeah, so this is if you really need to disconnect, it's also fine. Yeah.
But there's no like program for like young artists.
Not that I know. Maybe there is, but this not to my knowledge. Yeah, it can happen, but I never crossed something like that. Yeah.
There is this festival in there is a gallery for dance called Artistic Studio in Berlin, and they every year they do twice a year festival for students and alumni, which is kind of like a residency because they give for months or 2 months they give you the studio to research and to work in there. So you can check this. Other studio.
Other studio?
Yeah.
Where is it again?
In Berlin.
In Berlin. Yeah, I can imagine that, for example, Berlin is a city that has facilities like that.
They will not provide you like place to live because it's mostly Berlin based, but still.
Yeah. Right? What more? Questions? Some questions more? What would like to know more about this subject? What was the subject actually? Where to find. I mean, we are talking now about Europe, yeah, but of course, there's beyond Europe, there are also residencies. Now we come to the next subject, which is, yeah. Yeah. Where is it? Somehow we touched how to apply and how to choose, like in the beginning when we said about in which state of my work am I. Yeah?
What institutions tend to offer residencies? Only venues, or is it sometimes like...
No, residency places. These are residency places, yeah. I mean, when you look at, for example, the European Dancers Network, they do mainly, some of them, production and residencies. Some of them are really like, we call them production houses. Yeah. Others are connected to, they have a program, normal theater program for dance, and then they have the other part, which is, you know, community work, production, residencies. Yeah. And residence sometimes is in some of the places, like it was where I worked, the main activity of the place. Yeah, this is not. This is mixed. It's why sometimes it's not so easy to find. Yeah, so it's just mixed. You think, oh, this is a theater, but no, they also offer residencies. Yeah, but please check all the links. There's you go into the link, and then they open the members that are in this network for residencies, and then you can find who is more for dance. And there you can explore. Yeah, this to explore now all these different kind of sites. It would be not enough time to do so. Yeah, that's why I collect them for you. I just miss one, réseau. I realize. Okay, then yeah, the last subject before we start a bit discussing about other things is rethink the international mobility. This is now the big subject to avoid traveling and how to, on the one hand side, having this wish to get inspired, also to go a bit out from the box and to see other places and get other atmospheres and tastes and people around that help you to bring you in a good creative flow. But at the same time, the discussion about how do we deal now with climate change, with international mobility, with our mobility. Yeah, this is for now the big theme for touring artists, as it is also for somehow residency. You know, touring residency is not so often like someone that is having a career and making a really already a tour that is already, you know, going from one place to the other, but also residency come into the mobility subject. Yeah, so we have to, before we start, oh, I want to go to Australia to to do a 2 weeks residency. Maybe it's not the right moment. I don't know. I mean, I'm just talking about from my point of view. Maybe this is not in the moment not the right thing. If I go to Australia, I would say I should look for what? For a residency that is long-term residency, not a short-term residency. Otherwise, my ecological footprint is strong. It's very, and then, you know, you have to collect your kilometers that you do by polluting, and then you have to make the balance, you know. I think this is how we have to live nowadays. And this is also considering residencies for me. Yeah, to see, okay, first maybe I can look if close to me, where is a good residency place that I can, for a short-term residence, that I can use? Yeah, inside my country, inside my town, inside my country, inside the neighbor countries. I think that would make sense. As I would maybe now start like that. And to see what is my impact with it also on ecology. What do you think? You think you should be free from this, and you just go where your heart leads you, or you would like to embark on something like Rethink my mobility? What do you think? It's very hard to ask this to young people, I mean, because you just want to explore it, go and see, and of course, I mean, but
I mean,
how is it?
Now it's not really, I think, a question we can decide on, because due to Corona, it's all changed a lot, and we don't know where it's going to change after. So maybe we will not have a possibility to go to other countries for more 10 or 15 years. I mean, anyways, I think now the times it's like we rethink anyways the traveling. Not like 2 years ago when we could go immediately.
Yeah, it's more difficult, but maybe that was necessary to make us think that, to make us think actually that it's a bit more difficult. It doesn't have to be psychologically so heavy, yeah, but it should be that we think better before we catapult ourselves into another continent. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I think sometimes the need to catapult yourself into another continent also comes from like the kind of opportunities available in the continent that you're in. But like you've raised a really interesting point about balancing the time spent in the country and the kind of work in relation to the reason for travel. Yeah, it's something to think about. Yeah, I can think about it now when I'm in the European context. I can be like, yes, I should think about like how far I'm traveling, why I'm traveling. Yeah, it's more comfortable to think about it now where in my previous context there was probably 5 opportunities, that would provide a residency without like a focus for research or pre-production or production. But yeah, I mean, even thinking about going back is like, to think about also the pandemic right now and then making this journey.
Yeah. What in this public discussion in the moment about mobility and international touring and all this, what I hear always is that you have to make it, when you're going into mobility, you have to make the mobility more meaningful. And then I'm asking, okay, that's a big word, to make it more meaningful. But if you think, I'm planning a residency and I'm going to Portugal, yeah, from Munich to Portugal, and how can I make then my residency in this such a trajectory more meaningful? Where is there the meaningfulness in this moment? I'm doing it. What kind of impact, besides, of course, I for myself, I find an answer in this, that I say, okay, is there a balance, between the timing, that I go for the time that is not just like a week going to Portugal. No, it's a bit of a longer period. And then what do I produce then in Portugal that can be also meaningful for me? How can I share that? So that like a tree, the roots that are go into it is a more solid ground. Yeah. So there's more solid ground that you have the roots going there inside. It's not just like whoops here and go and this and this and that. No, there's something. Boom! You go and you connect and you do your work, but you also, what does it really mean for you, for the people around you, for the community? And there we come again to open it up a little bit, you know, to let go, let in the impressions that are there, and to have a moment of share, and yeah. And that's why it's also good for the people when you are doing your application to have these ideas already in it, yeah. To say, look, I want to make my residency in a meaningful way. Of course, for me and my team to come to take out the best possible time and effect and come into an intimate, close relationship, bring the group together, because it's many times about group dynamics if you're in a residence space, because all of a sudden you live together, you know, because before you kind of work together, but everybody goes home and then is again in his own environment. But in the residence places, it's more condensed, and you come together and you live together. There's like a family feeling, and then there is a completely different dynamic, which most probably reflects itself in the work that you are developing, yeah, because it's different. Yeah, it has a different kind of power, I would say, and that speaks for residency, yeah, in a way, yeah. Or against, because if you're in a group that you cannot stand, that you have just conflict, then you have to learn how to deal with conflict. Also good, maybe. Sorry, I'm a bit sarcastic. Anastasia.
I wanted to ask like about this meaningfulness. I'm just thinking also that it's like very specific in a way, like from where to where you come. Because, for example, if you come, if you like, it can be meaningful in few stages. Like, for example, if you come from somewhere where there is like no resources at all, and then you come to like to the place and you share something there, but you also have a possibility then to make a production and then also bring some experience back to the place where there are not so many resources. Or like vice versa, you come from a place, I don't know, where there is a lot of knowledge, and then the place where you coming, like you can share this knowledge or somehow like, I mean, it's just very specific. Like if it's not inside Europe, like exactly also, it's like, it's a very big difference, for example, from like for me to go to art residency in Georgia or to go to art residency in Portugal, like, it's like this meaningfulness also has lots of stages and lots of like different, different ways from which it can be also perceived, I think. And of course, like, that's also what you told us. Like sometimes it's not just out of like, oh, I want to do my work there just because I want to travel a little bit, but also because like I don't have any possibility to do this work anywhere else, so I'm going there, which is also with why residency should give. Like, I'm just curious, when you are choosing, when you are residency and you're, for example, choosing from applicants, do you care about the kind of also the experience and knowledge which they will bring, or do you care like in this particular space and then they will share and then they will like have a possibility to develop their artistic idea, or maybe like how much this exact artist need to also gain experience and have time to and possibility to also grow something and to bring it back where they're based. I'm just curious what would be there.
I mean, it was once John Ashford actually that will speak to you. I think tomorrow is John Ashford is coming. That was asking the colleagues, you know, when you have people in residency in your houses, do you see them? You know, do you have contact to them, or just come there? The production is there. Like sometimes, if you're a touring artist, you don't see the director of the theater. You don't even talk to them. Or sometimes you're in residency and you don't have much contact to the people. So this is when we're talking about if you have a practice of care. Yeah, I think then when there is on both sides the practice of care, which is a wide subject, the practice of care, but should be for me implemented in a residency place, then there is, of course, from the two sides of practice of care, then we create meaningfulness probably, yeah. And so we had there in this place, we had the fantastic possibility to actually curate residencies. That means we got the applications in, and the people requesting us to come to residency. Then we look at the whole picture, and then we said, okay, we could have 3 or 4 residencies at the same time. And then we said, okay, let's see who comes together in this place, in this time. Yeah? And then we have people like young choreographers that are starting their career together with someone that is already more experienced and then because people then are sharing the living spaces together, where they eat, and there comes a lot of synergies. People are exchanging. Also, the older choreographers are always happy that they are young, fresh eyes there that look, that look at their work, because we open up to rehearsals and they can watch each other. And I remember once there was a situation that Jefte van Dinter was there. There was a couple of 3 or 4 young choreographers, and he was rehearsing, and then they were watching from 4 sides, and they gave feedback. This made him think, really like rethink a lot of things. And this kind of this happens also, that you're not there alone. You can be alone when you want, but you have also colleagues that can you come watch my rehearsal and give me feedback. This is a very good. And then, of course, it was at the time was my responsibility to make it as good as possible. Of course, it was not always 100% matching, but that one can see, okay, there's a bunch of people that can really give good feedback. Yeah, and if you start the creation in a very sensitive moment for you, then it's nice to have other people that are somehow in the same moment. They're also in the creation, and they have the sensitivity to respond and give feedback in an adequate way. Not because you open up, woo, and then someone gives you hard feedback. It's very strong. Yeah. Especially if you're really working on your core. Good. Right. 5 minutes. Questions.
I really don't understand this financial part of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know, if the person who's applying is getting the money, or how. So I absolutely don't know how it's working with the money-wise.
There are all kinds of formats. There are formats like you have a stipendium, like you get the funding really, which is like Kampnagel does, or Bora Bora, for example, does. They give you during the time of the residency, you are almost getting a salary and the money for production. Now I was in the Finnish team. We had a project. It was called Sparks Project, and then we select Finnish. This was only for the Finnish choreographers. That they applied, and they get the production paid and the residency. So there are all kinds of formats. It's very difficult for me to say all the residents are function like that. As I told you in how it was in Portugal, we worked together with the ministry, and then as soon as we had the residents approved, then they got the money for the residency from the ministry. Yeah, this also happens like that. That you are not involved in that. You just then receive the whole package, like for your production and for the residency. That happens, yeah? Or then you get, Bora Bora gives, the last time it was 800 euros each artist per week. And others are, you get a monthly paid, you get the whole package paid, or you don't get paid, you have to pay. Also possible, yeah? Like Anastasia said, this also still happens that you have to pay then the studio. And usually you have the studio space, you have the food, and you have the travel minimum paid. Yeah, and then it depends a little bit on the funding situation of the house, how it can be provide you also with either money for the production, where you can also pay your team and you, or with this kind of like Bora Bora does it with a salary monthly for each artist. Not only for the dancers, for all of them. As also costume designer, light designer, stage designer, as much as collaborators as you have in the project. Yeah.
When you apply, you have to include how many people are coming for this residency.
As many come. Yeah.
I'm apply as a person.
No, you apply as you, as the main, that person that applies, and you have as collaborators all these people that come with you. But you have to have them, sometimes you don't know whom you bring as a light designer, and you have to write, light designer still to define. Yeah? Or probably I bring that person, not yet sure. But as I said, as more transparent you are, as better it is. Yeah? And even sometimes if you have a very good project and you say, I have 5 collaborators, I don't know which are they. It also can happen. And then but okay, somehow the project we trust it. Or it has but it happens, I would say, that when the project is fantastic, you say, oh, this guy gonna find, or this woman gonna find the collaborators that he or she thinks are adequate for it. Yeah.
How the residency itself functions, like who is financing the residency by itself, and how, because I'm thinking, okay, the ministry and all these government structures will probably funding the residencies, but are there some private kind of, because it's not only these places where there are resources, there are also places where I can't really imagine that ministry or government can support this.
Yes, sure. Yeah, you can. There, for example, if you look at the iPod for example, or On the Move, there you can find links, actually from your country, where they provide you with information where you can apply if you want to apply for funding from an institution, like the Goethe Institute, or or in Portugal it's Gulbenkian Foundation, or those that are supporting artists travel and research, or for science research, and then you can apply, and then you have to make the link between the residency that you want to go and say, I would like to go to this residency, I would need funding. So there's not only direct to the residency places, there's also through the other channels. But this is, when you study the links, you can find this information.
But I'm more about this perspective of I'm the residency,
Mm-hmm.
I'm also in the residency.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get finances to support people to come to my residency?
So if you want to organize residencies. Mm-hmm.
I don't always understand where who supports the residency to support us.
It's usually by state, sometimes by the region, or sometimes by the town, or sometimes by different entities. Like in our place, it was by 3. It was supported by the town, by the region, and by the country. And then, of course, sometimes you have European collaborations or European project where then you can also, through collaboration with other kind of countries, you can apply for European funding. But European projects are always connected to a little bit more bureaucratic handling, yeah. But usually these residency places they get the funding. And the only one I'm really not sure, have people from Berlin are here, no? The Ponderosa is this, I don't know who is actually funded.
I was thinking about PAF also, because it's
Yeah.
private now, it's funded
Yeah,
by 70 people or something.
Yeah. And they have, sometimes I have to say, this Berlin scene has thousands of different kind of ways of organizing residencies. Ponderosa has, I think it's partly paid, has a state funding, but also
But you have to pay.
you have to pay to go to Ponderosa. But again, in Berlin it's also like that. You apply for funding from, for example, from the city of Berlin, and then you include, I want to go to Ponderosa to residencies, and the residency from Ponderosa says, yes, we can take them in, and then the project is they know that you want to go, and then you can, in your calculation for the funding, for the means you need, you can write residency in Ponderosa, X and X and X. Yeah. Answered? Don't worry. More questions? Yeah, okay. Yeah, ask.
Because it's super nice that the artists have this opportunity to work there and to research. But one question also came to my mind: what actually the residency gets? Like, why are they doing this?
That's a good question, actually. I mean, why? Yeah. He's asking why the people that are providing residency are doing it. I mean, this is. What can I say? I mean, in our case, it was that the Ministry of Culture was asking us because there was a lack of spaces in Lisbon at the time for the amount of artists that are needed rehearsal spaces, and they thought, okay, we need more spaces for our artists to rehearse and to produce, and so we would like to create a residency for Portuguese artists. And would you mind to provide to help us setting up something like that? And that's how it started 20 years ago with Rui Horta in Portugal, because he was a touring artist. He knew exactly what he would like to have when he comes to a residency. When he was having had so many residencies, it was a good critical person to say, okay, what is my dream of being in a residency? How should it be best? And that was the goal, to come to that for the artist is on this level, you know. And what is really a very big goal is that it's human, you know, and that there is a contact, and that you feel welcome, yeah. And then, oh my God, next, you know, it's like, oh, one more, oh, so much work, shit. I mean, this is, you know, this. You have to have the love for you have to be a little bit of a dance activist, like we all are, and have to be, to push this art form forward in society. And so, thanks God, there are people like that are having that spirit. Yeah, but it goes a lot into the activist field. It's good, I think. It's good to be in the activist field. That's more alive. No.
Okay, so it was like mostly the team was speaking English, or which language?
Yeah, mostly English. Yeah, we were Belgium, Australian, Portuguese, and German team in the beginning, and then slowly it started to get. But then when it worked, of course, it makes sense then to widen up the horizon. You know, you cannot just stay national, because then it gets very national, and then you have to think, okay, you want to have other influences. You want, you know, it's so good to have other bodies and languages and cultures in a space where people work together on a very high level. Yeah, it doesn't mean that when you are a beginner coming out that you don't work on a high level. You can, as a beginner coming out from school, can also work on a very high level. It's in you, the high level. Yeah, so you come with your level. I mean, what is high level? I mean, it's a stupid word, but with your, you know, what you want to do, with your ambition, let's say like that. Yeah, you are ambitious, because it's to create and it's an ambition, I would say.
If we come, for example, as beginners,
Mm-hmm.
want to make something, is it more likely that we're gonna get the residency if we come with less people, because then we have then maybe we need more less from you?
No, I think it depends on what is your ideas. I mean, of course, if what would I say? I mean, I would say, if someone comes in residence for the first time and comes with 20 people, it's a little bit like, oh, I hope that person knows what he's doing, because it's very overwhelming. Also, maybe for yourself. So maybe it's good to start in a smaller circle to also learn how to deal with all this. Yeah, to organize people, to lead, or not to lead, to cooperate and stuff. So I think from my point of view, more healthy would be to start in a little bit of a smaller group. but you know, you never know.
Is it important with how many people work?
No, not really. Not really. I mean, you think, oh, it's my first residency, I come only with 2 people, and I leave the rest of the crew at home because I don't dare to bring them. No, it cannot be like that. It depends on your idea. If your idea is to come with 6 people because you want to do this, and then you come with a 6 or 7 or 8. Good. I think we are. Nice. Yeah. 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 Or, if it's wished, all the time. We are watching everything. This is not all everywhere like that. This was really, we had, in this we were very attentive, I would say. But it happens. Because usually, if you're lucky there in a place like in the Dance House Network, the places they have dramaturgs, you know, and then they also are involved in the residency program, and or like sometimes you are getting into somehow in the network. Yeah, when you go to these places, each of these houses they are part of networks, you know, and so you, by being there, you're also starting to. Was Walter's subject the networking? Yeah, that you start to build, you know, slowly, like a spider net, your network. I think networking is extremely important in everywhere in life, but in this profession, it's super important to build slowly a good network. There is this. What is a good society? You know, this recent study from Greek scientists, Nicholas. I wanted to say Papadopoulos, but this is a choreographer, Nicholas. But now I don't remember. I put it on the link. Okay, very interesting study about what makes society a good society. Yeah, and these are like 10 points. What makes society a good society? You know, and one of the points is networking. Yeah, to have to be networking, you know, and widen it, and take care of your network. I think this is a big part of the success somehow, not success, but of a good way of building a career. Let's say like that. Good. Until here? Yeah? Please check the links, because I didn't want to go into this kind of very dry, just putting this kind of this house does that, and this house provides this, and there is this. This would be not, for me, not so interesting, I think. It's more interesting for me to talk a little bit about the whole philosophy of something that is called residency. Yeah? And the links, the hard, the practical is in the links. You have to explore them. Yeah? Good. I wish you good time still here in Munich, and see you around. Bye.